Am I the asshole for telling my husband's kids how broke he was when we met after they insinuated I was a gold digger? I've 38F been married to my husband Rob 52M for 4 years now. My husband's late wife died 1 year before we met, and we dated for 2 years before marriage. He has 2 kids, 28 Madison and 26 Brett. Note, I am not calling them my stepkids because they explicitly told me I am not their stepmom, just their dad's wife. I didn't play a part in raising them, so I'm okay with that. It's always been a tense between us. I've tried my best to be kind to them and have been generous when I can be, but they are very cold with me. Being a child of divorce, I can partially relate to a parent moving on, so I try not to force anything. Madison recently got engaged, and we are excited about it. Everyone was over recently, and she asked about a wedding budget from us, and Rob told her he was able to contribute $10K. She has bigger hopes for her wedding than this, so she was upset and kept asking for more. Rob, however, is still working hard on building his savings back up. Before his late wife died, he basically wiped out his cash savings, had to cash out his 401k, and even took a small mortgage on his house to cover medical costs as well as life expenses, since he had to cut back on working. Eventually, he had to drop that job for a more flexible but lower paying one, so this 10K is actually really generous from him. Rob went to run an errand, and it was just me and his kids. Madison then asked me if I'm going to give any in addition to what her dad is giving. I told her we're a marital unit, and that's what we discussed together as a reasonable amount to contribute. She then said, I should have known. Obviously, you married an older man for what he had, not for what you could give. I knew she didn't like me, but this is the most flat-out rude thing she ever said. I kind of lost it and said, excuse me, who do you think has been paying the second mortgage your dad took out to pay his debts? Truth of the matter is, I make more than her father by a large margin. I have no debt and have been paying 70% of the household bills the whole time we've been married. The 10K we're giving her is available because I've been able to subsidize her father's living expenses the last few years. I made it clear that not only am I not a gold digger, I'm literally wealthier than my older husband. She called me stuck up after this and stormed out. Then she called her dad later and said that I told her that I blamed her mother for being sick, for her not having a better wedding budget. I told him what happened and he was mad at her, but also said I shouldn't have shared his financial details with his kids. Not the asshole. But you have to know that you're either stuck up or a gold digger to a child, even an adult one, who is determined to make you a wicked stepmother. That's exactly why I thought I needed to tell her the truth. Just tired of that trope. Good, she's old enough to hear it. And this is also a practical step. It's important that she and her sibling understand his financial standing. Not to be a downer, but eventually if he passes, hopefully not for a long time, you don't want to be facing accusations that you've robbed an inheritance. Not the asshole. He should have shared his financial situation himself. She is an adult and is old enough to understand that medical expenses are the reason there is not a larger savings. This should not feel like blaming the sick person. This is a sad reality of for-profit healthcare. Not the asshole, but your husband needs to have stern words with his kids. If he doesn't have a word about calling you a gold digger and then spouting lies, you maybe need to consider whether he does actually love and respect you. Perhaps he's the gold digger. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter-in-law, for f***'s sake, I have a life, and I am not going to be cookie-cutter grandma, and I will call the police. My son and daughter-in-law have been married for around 7 years at this point. They have 2 kids. All of my children are out of the home and living their lives. My husband and I are still working and will probably retire in 10 to 15 years. Around 70, my daughter-in-law and I got along much better before the kids came into the picture. They live 30 minutes away and she is always trying to drop them off. I thought my son was in on this, but no. I sat them down and he had no idea this was happening. I showed them many texts asking for me to babysit, and he was under the impression that I have only babysat twice this month, not 16 times. Apparently, she has been dropping them off with me to hang out with people, and my son was under the impression she was taking them with her. I started to communicate in a group chat with them, so everyone was on the same page. I only respond to her in the group chat, and if she starts to spam me with texts about it, I throw a screenshot in the group chat and have my son deal with it. We have talked, and it comes down with her wanting her kids to have the same relationship she had with her grandparents. In short, I explained that I'm still working, and I will not have that relationship. That I can't have the kids every other day, just like she had growing up. We agreed to every 2 weeks to have a grandma day. All good for about a year. My son is now traveling for work, and she is at it again. The time difference makes it hard to have him shut it down. When that happens, I was home for about an hour when she showed up at my home. She wanted me to babysit when she went shopping. I had enough at this point. I told her for f***'s sake I have my own life, that I will not be the cookie-cutter grandma she wants, and if she tries to leave the kids with me from now on without my agreement, that I will call the police for abandonment. She called me a jerk and stormed off. My son called trying to smooth it over and saying I may have gone too far. Edit. For everyone going on about how he couldn't know, doesn't he talk to his kids? The kids were 4 months and 1 3/4 years old when she kept dropping them off. They weren't really talking. The oldest sure could move, but not a big talker. It really hit off when she was pregnant and got even worse when the second one was born. Not the asshole. That's nice. She had that kind of relationship with her grandparents, but absolutely nothing entitles her to force it on you. Good job on the boundaries. Your son needs to step up here too, though, and get more involved with his own kids. The group text idea was brilliant and is a great way to keep him in the loop. Don't make assumptions. He is very involved with the kids. When he comes back from trip, he will always take the kids out to let her have a chance to herself. He has been to every milestone they have had. He just gave her a weekend trip with her friends for Mother's Day and stayed behind with the kids. He goes to doctor appointment. They switch off childcare mornings and nights. He takes them with him all the time. He spends alone time with the kids. The kids are in daycare, so really they have nights together. He is a good father. Not his fault. He needed to travel for work, so they have money. That's just what happens when you are the main breadwinner. Work says go do that. You do it. Not his fault either that he married someone that wanted kids, but not the responsibility of raising them. Daughter-in-law is the AH. She is dreadful, and will apparently never be satisfied until you become her full-time nanny. You are handling this perfectly, by communicating clearly and by having her husband deal with it. And the police threat was an effective wake-up call she needed. Not the asshole. No, not the asshole at all. Damn, OP, your daughter-in-law is trying to bully you. Not going well for her, lol. But, seriously, she knows exactly what the deal is, and she's not confused, unaware, or whatever. She's literally trying to strong-arm you against your will. Please don't continue to engage with her on the basis of what she wants. That is not the issue anymore. You are past that. She is actually harassing you, and I wouldn't call the cops about abandonment, but I would for harassment. Showing up at your house, uninvited, spamming you with texts. She's being abusive, and your son needs to recognize what is going on here. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.